Kezo and Pika. Anything you think say you get, whatever you think you have, if you get to Kano, we have it much more. Sorry, sir, I don't mean to intimidate you, but Kano, maybe you may transfer yourself back to Kano. Okay, now to our keynote speaker. Okay, this man is an amazing man, handsome. Will I say, in the Bible, they use beautiful for Absalom, right? So it's not out of place when you say a man is beautiful. Now, Bible talk cannot be me write the Bible, so don't look at me. So, now, this man, we call him Mr. Faithful. He is an engineer at Preki, a New York-based energetic AI company. He is a leading architectural right of the company, AI platform. Now, this man is AI guru. And anything about AI, just give it to him. You will hear more. I don't want to say anything so that you don't think I'm exaggerating. Okay? Now, he built a core infrastructure that today serves enterprise clients across fintech, SaaS, and investment teams, embedding directly with customers to design and ship AI-powered solution end-to-end. Now, beyond Preki, Mr. Faithful is the co-founder of Impulse CRM, an AI-native CRM platform helping fintech, SaaS, and investment teams, replacing fragmented sales tooling with single intelligent working space. No worry. You know, when you do great things, your profile will be long. You understand? So don't be tired though. Now, with over 6 years of full stack engineering experience spanning energetic system, enterprise, integration, and financial infrastructure, Mr. Faithful has built across the spectrum from government-scale agricultural data system serving hundreds of thousands of Nigerian farmers to multi-agent investment analyst platform used by ventures capital firms. He's also passionate about raising the next generation of engineering. Having trained over 200 young engineers himself as a seasoned lead with Audacity ALX program, he holds a BSc in physics from the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. A man of deep faith, Faithful sees his work as stewardship, building tools that serve people well and create lasting value. He serves as the media lead at Frontier Young Adult Church in Lagos, and he's happily married to his wife, Mrs. Mercy, the most beautiful couple you have on earth right now. In his leisure time, if you're not jealous, can you put your hands together? In his leisure time, he enjoys building prototype for new ideas using tools he has never worked with before, a habit that has shaped him into deeply versatile engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker for today, this morning, please help me welcome on the podium, Mr. Faithful Ojebiyi. You are welcome, sir. You are welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm actually happy to be here. Let's be seated. Let's be seated. About 10 years ago, I was once seated like you. I think that was when YPF started. I think it was in 2016 or 2015 when we had like the first YP in Abeokuta. And I also attended the program like everyone seated here. And, that program also kind of inspired me and also shaped some of the decisions I made, later on in life and made me who I am today. So being present here in your midst today is actually a privilege to be able to also impact lives the way I've also been impacted. Let's just close our eyes for a brief prayer before we start. Heavenly Father, we commit this session into your hands. We pray that you take control over everything we are going to do. We ask for divine inspiration from the Holy Spirit. In Jesus' precious name we've prayed. I'm going to start this session by, I had something on the screen the other time. I just wanted to take like a quick survey. So I would want everyone to open their phones and log in to just search for menti.com and use this code that you have on the screen. So just want to do like a very quick poll, just question and answer, just to get an idea of who the kind of audience that we have present seated here this morning. So just have about 30 seconds to a minute to do that. Is everyone logged in? Menti.com, MENTI.com. Then the code is 34983656. Are we in? We are in. Menti.com. So we can also use the QR code if, you're unable to log into the site. So just asking questions, people can start filling in their answers. So I think we have 33 people already joined, 34, 35, okay? One of the good things about doing a survey like this is, to an extent, you'll be able to tailor the presentation that you want to do towards the larger representative of the audience that we have here. So I don't want to assume that everyone here has probably finished their NYSC or is already a working class person. So, having an idea would also help us, in the presentation of today. Wow. So we have a larger percentage of students. Interesting. Okay. So I'll be moving on to the next question. So we have larger percentage of students, followed by entrepreneurs or founders. We have, out of 50, we have 8 people who just started their early careers. We have core members, 7 of them, mid-level professionals, 4 to 10 years, 7. That's impressive. Okay, we're moving on to the next question. And the next question says, where are you on AI right now? So I haven't really used it. I use ChatGPT or Claude casually. I use AI tools in my work quickly. I'm building things with AI. Wow, I'm actually surprised to see that people haven't really used AI. And we have 4 builders in the house. Interesting. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Which tools do you use daily? So we have the likes of ChatGPT, we have Claude, we have Gemini, we have Microsoft Copilot, we have Kimi, we have Dixie, and then we have others. Oh, I have fellow Claude users in the house. Of course, ChatGPT is always going to be the highest, as expected. Okay. Yeah. Interesting to see that people are also using DeepSeek and Copilot. I'd want to assume that the Copilot users are people that use it professionally in their day-to-day 9 to 5 kind of work. Because most people that use Copilots, I know, it's either is provided to them by their workplace, and people, their office is the one. Their office uses the Microsoft stack, so obviously they just tilt towards using Microsoft Copilot. ChatGPT, of course, has like the highest percentage because it's kind of like the most popular tool out there. Then Claude, people like myself who are developers most likely will be using Claude. Gemini is just there in between Claude and ChatGPT. And then we have others. DeepSeek is an open source AI software. Okay. In one word, what brings you to the Shift conference today? So just type in something in one word. One word. What brings you to the Shift conference today? Okay. That's nice networking. Impact, growth, mindset change, shifts, impact. Yeah. And basically what you're seeing here is the words that have like the most usage is actually the ones that gets projected, much bigger than the others. So you can see everyone is talking about impact, knowledge, shift, growth, networking. So those seems to be like, the core reason why everyone is seated here today. I'll be going into the actual presentation. So that was a nice, feedback from the audience. So now I know that at least 40% of the people that are seated here are students. So I'll try as much as possible to put you into consideration while I'm doing my presentation. I'd actually prepared my slide mostly for professionals. But now that I know that we have students in the house, I'll try to make sure that, I carry you along. So the reason why I had asked, the initial question about how many of us are using AI tools in our day-to-day life is to show you that everyone seated here, at least 90% of the people seated here are no strangers to AI. Like at one time or the other in our lives, we've tried to either use, any of these tools, either ChatGPT, either Claude, either Gemini. We've at one point or the other used it in our life, whether to ask questions, whether to compose email, whether to compose messages. I don't think I can remember when last I actually sat down and composed birthday messages. Right? My Claude kind of almost knows every single person that is close to me, because I've taught it how I talk, how I write my messages. I've taught it. It knows context, it has a memory to remember conversations I've had in the past. So, for example, I can just say, "Can you compose a message to my wife?" It already knows who my wife is. It knows her name. It will just come up and just, start typing something based on context and, previous conversations that we've had. Maybe I've told it something about her that she's done in the past. I've given it a lot of context about the personality of my wife and who she is. And I've done, very similar thing to, many other people who I, compose messages for with my chatbot, right? And today, we are mostly going to be focusing on the future of work and thriving with AI in a challenging professional work. A lot of things have been happening in the tech industry, right? Companies have been doing a lot of massive layoffs. Why? Companies have decided that, we have too many engineers on our team. AI can now handle the workload of 3-4 engineers for the cost of one. So why do they need to keep, so many engineers in their team when they can actually hand over these tasks to AI? Now, the issue is not that those team members are not valuable to the team. But the point is, how have they shifted? How have they started using AI in their day-to-day work that has made the company realize, like, I don't think these people are of any value to us. For example, in my company, right, we slimmed down from, we had, I think, 7 engineers. Currently, we are just 2 engineers on the team with 1 engineering manager. And we've been able to push much more in the last couple of months than we've done in 4 years by just using artificial intelligence, right? And I'm going to share stories of, things I've done personally, how I use AI in my day-to-day work, projects I've built. I'm going to do demos. I'm going to show you how, you can apply AI in your day-to-day life just to make, your workflow easier, and also to put you at the top of people in your, workplace. For example, someone that uses AI and someone that doesn't use AI, there's always going to be a large difference in terms of productivity, right? Someone is always going to do something much faster, while someone is always going to lag behind. I remember one evening when my wife came back from work and she was saying, babe, I think I need you to pay for cloth for me. I have something I need to do real quick. They had one job that they were doing with a contractor outside of their place of work. And, the man has been giving them a lot of tough time. They've had multiple back and forth, and he kept giving excuses as to why he could not work on a particular thing. Yeah, we need process flow from you. We need this documentation. We need this. We need that. And my wife was like, this man is going to blame me if I don't end up giving them in this thing. So when she got back home, she just told me that, can I have access to your Claude? I mean, she uses ChatGPT. I use Claude. I know there's always beef between people that use ChatGPT and Claude. We are always beefing each other. We're always like, Claude is always superior to ChatGPT. So I don't want to start the argument here, but I'm a Claude person, and Claude is superior to ChatGPT. So she came, and she said, I need access to your Claude. I asked her what she wanted to do. She told me she has this Excel sheet, and she just needed to create a processful document based on just a couple of tables and some text in her Excel sheet. What did she do? I just told her, all you just need to do is tell Claude you want to create a process document based on this Excel sheet. Upload the Excel sheet to the document. How many pages did Claude spit out of the process document? Almost 20 pages. It wrote 20 pages worth of process document. And I asked her, can you go through it and let me know if it made any mistakes or anything? And she was like, she could not find anything to actually correct. And she did all of that in under 30 minutes. This would have taken her weeks of work and review to do. We even did it to the point where I asked her to, copy your company's, what's it called? Copy your company's, the letterhead, the styling that they use for writing their documents, the company's logo, the color and everything. Gave that to Claude and asked it to regenerate the documents. And he did everything with the company's branding. That even if she had presented it to the board, nobody would have suspected that all this was written by AI. Funnily, this slide was designed by AI. All I just needed to do was, I gave it the context, gave it the content of what I wanted to do. It designed every single thing that you are seeing on this slide, up until where every single letter and the position of every single thing that you are seeing on this slide was literally done by AI. I did not sit down to, what's it called? I didn't enter PowerPoint. I was like, put logo in this place. This text is too small. I need it to be a little bit bigger. I just told AI, I don't want my text, nothing should be less than 18, pixels in font size. Make my heading this so font size. I gave it my profile, gave it, topics of things I wanted to discuss. Gave it a couple of websites I wanted it to go and do research on, and I asked it to do this research. We had back and forth. It will ask me questions, I'll respond. This is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to, write my slide. And also based on previous presentations I've also done in the past, give it all that context and asked it, go and generate a slide for me. While I was doing my work. And when it's done, I'll sit down, review. I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, readjust this, readjust this, readjust this. Give it the inputs back. And so we kept going, having that back and forth till I was satisfied with the output. Now, the time I would have spent, arranging my slides on PowerPoint or, Google Slides, I had spent that time doing something more productive, right? All I just needed to do was gather the context and give, the design, whatever I wanted to AI, and it continued doing the rest for me. Now, I've talked about how powerful AI is, and we are going to talk about how software is changing. Software is changing from things that you open every single day. You have to wait for the user inputs before you can take action. Now, people will just sit down in their house. Sometimes, funnily, there was a trending bot that people were using one time called CloudBot. And basically what that thing helped people to do was you connect it to your WhatsApp, you connect it to your Telegram account, and from anywhere in the world, you can actually give directives to your agent to do something on your behalf. Connect your social media account, ask it to post updates for you, ask it to do research, and it did all of that brilliantly well, right? I personally, because I'm mostly a software engineer, so my day-to-day work is just, writing code. Funnily, I took a picture yesterday when we came from the airport. Let me see if I can find that picture. So this was me. This was me yesterday while I was working on the slides, and that was my other laptop. My agent was working behind. So what happened was when we were at the airport in Lagos, I was working on a specific project. I'd given the AI something to do, but because we lost internet access, my laptop was closed. We came back from the airport in Kano. We got to the hotel, it had stopped. All I just needed to do was type continue. And it's continued doing whatever I wanted to do, while I kept doing my own thing on the side, right? So, I'm multitasking. I'm doing two things at the same time. And the funny thing is, I was not even worried about what the agent was doing behind the scenes, because I'd already worked on multiple tools. I'd put a lot of skills into place to make sure that the agent does not derail from what the project or task that I'd given it to do. Let's go back to the slides. Just to also point out one of the reasons why I'm saying the way software works these days is changing. It was mentioned that I have like a startup called Impulse CRM. And when we started years ago, we actually started building out a CRM that helps people manage relationships. We had a couple of customers, and last year we were going to sign an enterprise client who has been in venture capital space for about 20 years. And they kept stalling and stalling and stalling and stalling and stalling. Till eventually we lost them as a potential customer. And what was the reason? They were also coming from a CRM that they were using before. But the issue was, what they were not getting on their previous CRM was that the previous CRM was so old to the point where the software did not have native AI integrations. So the owner of the company, is in his 70s, is pretty much very old. But he loves the whole AI shift. And he was looking to switch over to a new software that was going to help him automate things. He didn't want to be, doing things manually. He wanted to just wake up in the morning, come to open the software, and then he's just seeing details. Okay, this has happened, this changed. He wants to run workflows. He doesn't have to run all the workflows manually. The agent is proactive. He doesn't have to come to the software to do things for him to get results. So we then had to go back to the drawing board and be like, man, with the way the world is changing, I don't think building a CRM is going to take us anywhere. We have to change our approach. So what did? We ended up going back to the drawing board, and we decided to build the entire product from scratch. So instead of building a CRM, we decided to build an agentic CRM in the sense that the underlying technology on the underlying thing is an AI agent that takes in data from multiple data sources. Has this knowledge graph. For example, one of the features that we had decided to build into the software was a lot of people who are in the sales industry. There's something that they called cold intros or warm intros, where someone knows this person. I need to get an intro to say I need to get an intro to you, but I don't know you, but my wife knows you, right? So what we then had to build was, how do I find the closest relationship to you in the software, right? Without necessarily have to be doing manual search. And that was how we built the knowledge graph, right? I have a relationship with her, she has a relationship with you, but I have no direct relationship with you. So what the agent would do behind the scenes is, it would go and do a traversal, path, try to look for who has the closest relationship with this young man, and then say, oh, this also person has the closest relationship with this person because they both grew up in Kano, or they both served in Benue, or probably they went to the same school and all of that. That is the beauty of what AI can give to you. And that was what we decided to start building. Instead of building a CRM where you have to be the one to find your leads, the agent does all of that for you. Now, one of the other use cases where I use AI, my current company, where I work in the US, over the last 4 years, we've built a product which a lot of enterprise customers are currently using. But there had always been a little bit of reliability issues because we process millions, hundreds of millions of data points every single day across multiple enterprise clients. And I just felt like almost every single day, I'm always getting a product issue message, or something has gone down, something is wrong. I just sat down one day, I'm like, I'm not seeing how we are going to get out of this thing. We might need a system rewrite. It was such an audacious project because we were a team of 7 who had been working on this project for 4 years, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. In 2026, I then said to myself, I want to write everything from scratch, using the best tools, using the best technologies, single-handedly. This would not have been possible without the use of AI. I literally sat down, crafted out all the issues that we have been experiencing in the past, told AI, this is what I want to achieve. We have been having these reliability issues. I'm trying to rewrite this entire project from scratch. This is the tools I want to end up using. This is the infrastructure I want to build this on. And myself and my agent, we've been sitting down together for the last 1 month, working on this. And just yesterday, I just deployed the first version of the product. By the time I get back to work on Monday, because I was away on Thursday and Friday, I will just announce to the team, we have a new version of the product online. Everybody go online and test. So all of this would not have been possible without AI. I don't see myself sitting down and trying to rewrite code that had been written over the course of 4 years. In just 1 month, there was no way that was going to be possible, right? But AI gave me the ability to do that. And I'm going to show you a very small screenshot of what my daily dash coding activity looks like. You can see I have 74% of the code I write weekly is AI driven. That means more than 74% of the code that pushed was completely written by artificial intelligence. I didn't write a single line. See, out of almost 67,000 lines of code, 50,000 lines was written by AI. Why I just wrote 17,000. And funnily, that 17,000 self, I am even doubting if that 17,000 is even me. Maybe some calculations are not correct. But yeah, so you get the idea. And this is 1 week's worth of work. That's just 50,000 lines written by. So imagine what would have gone on for the past 1 month, right? So this is just to show you that a lot of things have changed, over the last 1 to 2 years. And we need to start making that shift, which is one of the reasons why we are doing the Shift Conference today. AI has helped the inexperienced people the most. And to be honest, if you go and do a research and ask people who have been senior consultants at their place of work and people who have been junior consultants or people that are junior position and ask them, if you do a research, you will find out that people who are the junior team, they've been able to get much more out of AI than people who are on the senior level. Why? When you're on the junior side, you actually have less context. Someone who has been doing something for 4, 5, 6 years has more context. They know how to go about their day-to-day life. When something breaks or when there's an issue, they know how to fix it. They know what is wrong. But someone that is junior, a junior person will first come and ask you, that is their senior, that I'm having issues with this thing. How can I solve it? These days, no junior person comes to meet me. Please, everybody, go and ask AI. I want to spend my time doing other things, right? Because I can guarantee you that 90% of the questions that you want to ask your team lead or you want to ask the person that you are reporting to, AI can already answer most of those questions. So it has helped more junior consultants, and the performance gain for senior consultants are actually less than junior consultants. There was a tweet I was seeing on Twitter that was yesterday where someone was saying, he posted a picture and just said, wow, we miss the days where, people used to write their first hello world. Someone was like, well, not in this age of AI. All the vibe coders, the first projects that they built was, they built a e-commerce website with something thousand microservices and all of this. This was actually a very funny post because I could actually relate. The first project I worked on, my first coding project was just one very small thing. You finish reading it and you're all happy and like, man, I did this. This is looking really good. But these days, they will say code is no more the moat because AI can write everything. So people who are entering into the tech space these days, they are able to do much more. In fact, some of them are pushing stuffs that it took us years of experience to be able to do. Some of them are able to do that in a month, in 2 months, right? My younger brother who started writing code just a few years back, sometimes I'll just sit down and be asking him, what are you doing? We tell me he's working on this project, and I'm like, my head, when you are thinking, when I was your age, I was not able to do this. He has just spent 2 years, learning how to code. But some of the projects he's been able to take on by himself, without even my own inputs. He hardly asks me questions this day. It's just him and the AI agent. If he's having issues, he knows to go and he knows to hack his agents. He knows to hack, if he has to go through Google, if he has to go through any of the AI tools out there, he knows how to do all of that without coming to disturb me. So, and we are also very much aware that Nigeria is not lagging behind. A lot of companies have also shifted to, using a lot of AI tools. I was asking one of my friends who works at MoneyPoint, and the guy was telling me the company paid for enterprise cloud for all their employees. So every single person has a cloud subscription, and that is what they use in their day-to-day. Like, I don't see myself sitting down and doing some things anymore. I was telling my wife one day that, it's looking like I've become lazy these days. Some things that normally I would have to sit down and do myself. I'm like, I just tell Claude, help me do this, help me do this, help me do this. and then I spend that time doing something else. Now, with all I've said, we shouldn't think that the odds are not in our favor. Actually, the odds are in our favor, and the doors are open in our favor. So, the barriers that have kept generations out have collapsed. The cost has gone up only on one thing: standing still. And what this means is that, like I said, the barrier for entry into many things has actually really dropped. I was telling someone that we don't have junior engineers anymore, because I can as well replace a junior engineer with a cloud code subscription, and my cloud code subscription will do much more than what a junior engineer will give to me, right? And also, AI does not get tired. The only thing that you're spending is money. So if I'm going to hire an employee who will start work at maybe 8 or 9 in the morning and close at 4, and then I have an AI agent that works autonomously for me 24/7, the obvious choice is to pick an AI agent, right? So the barrier for entry has actually please give me a minute, sorry. So the barriers of entry that has kept generations out has collapsed. I've seen a lot of people who have never written a single line of code in their lives pushing out very audacious projects. And today we are going to talk about multiple archetypes of people. People like myself, people like some of us that are seated here, and what each of those archetypes mean. For example, I consider myself a forward deployed engineer. And what do forward deployed engineers do? We mostly interact with customers. In the enterprise space, we have what actually happens in the enterprise industry is you have a product that you use, but most of the time, your customer would want something more custom. They would want a special workflow that works or that is tailored to their specific system. So what we forward deployed engineers do is we actually have conversations with the team, try to understand their use case, try to understand the problem they are trying to solve, and then we build custom solutions for them. And that is a very similar role to what I occupy at Prequel. We have the solo products builder. From the last poll that we did, I could see some people saying they build a lot of things with AI. There are people who have, founders who have shipped products that normally would require you to build a large team. Recently, there was a trending tweet on Twitter where a company called Posia.ai, they had raised $33 million, but it was just founded by one person. He does not have any employees. All his employees are agents. And the company raised $33 million. They suffered a lot of backlash and stuff, but that's the reality that we are in now. People are no more building companies of people, they are building companies of agents, right? And I would also show you, maybe in part 2, because I think we're having 2 parts of this session. In part 2, I'm going to show you, one of the things I had built using AI, and all of that was done within 1 week. And that is, one of the beauty about artificial intelligence and what you can actually use it to do. We have the AI integrators, right? You don't necessarily have to become an AI engineer. You don't need to be an accountant who automates. You need to just be the accountant who automates reconciliations, the lawyer drafting contracts 10 times faster, the marketer that is running entire campaigns with AI content, right? I gave an example of my wife earlier who had designed an entire process flow under the space of 30 minutes. I don't even think it took up to 30 minutes, but just to be gracious enough, let's say 30 minutes, something that would have taken her weeks of work to do. All of that was done inside 30 minutes. And she was saying the company never expected that she was going to send it the following morning, because she just got back home that night and she was like, she's going to make sure that she finishes this thing today and get it across to them. And that is what AI makes you. It makes you a 10x person of who you normally would be. So we have the AI augmented specialists. Recently, there's been a lot of use case for artificial intelligence in the medical field. I remember one time a company had reached out to me on LinkedIn and they were like, oh, they've been working on artificial intelligence for biomedical research. And the only reason why they didn't even continue, the interview process with me was because they had data residency issues. There are some kind of data that must not leave the United States. And me, I was based in Nigeria. So I couldn't work in companies like that. I couldn't work on a project like that because those are very sensitive data. Medical records are data that is considered as very, very sensitive in the United States. So, but the thing is, artificial intelligence is used in every single field. Doctors use AI for, diagnosis, architects exploring design with AI, teachers designing generated lesson plans. I have a friend who is a teacher. He teaches in a school in Lagos, and all his content is designed using artificial intelligence. He uses slides to teach his students. That is the move, and he has tried to, he's trying to also train a lot of teachers to see how they could incorporate artificial intelligence in their day-to-day, work. Students are getting bored these days. They don't want to sit there in the four corners of the classroom listening to the same old, boring, lectures when you can actually get something that is more interactive for them. I remember I was telling someone that a lot of things have changed over the last, decade, 10, 15 years. One thing has remained constant, the educational system. The same way it had been during our, parents' time is the same way it is now. We still sit down in front of our chalkboard or whiteboard or whatever it is, every student on their desk still jotting notes and listening to lecture. Whereas 10 years ago, we were using, or 20 years ago, we were using landlines. Then we switched to using phones that were using antennas. Then we moved to smartphones. And funnily, your smartphones these days are more or less like your computers. So a lot of things have changed. Why not the educational system, right? Then we have the local AI entrepreneur. In health, agriculture, fintech, education, religion, government tech, Nigerian and African problems that need Nigerian and African builders. If you don't build for the Nigerian ecosystem, the foreign system will define what will be used by us by default, right? And personally, I've worked on a couple of projects with the government, and there's also one I'm also currently working with Lagos State Security Trust Fund in Lagos State. And it is on how to use artificial intelligence to actually solve security issues and stuff. So, we are talking about the Nigerian opportunity. We have remote work, global pay. The fact that you don't have to leave Nigeria to work for a startup. Someone like myself, I didn't have to leave Nigeria. If I can do it, I believe every single one of us here who has the intention on how to work for remote companies can also do the same. Bidding for our local context. We have local languages. I remember there was a young guy from Unilag who had trained ChatGPT on the Nigerian accent. He actually called his own Yan GPT. So it can actually speak Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa with the African dialect, authentic African dialect. He had worked on that project for about a year, and it's currently being used by some media agencies to actually create ads. So building for our context, our local languages, our local regulation, our local culture. Government and institutions and digitization. Recently, I know Bosun Tijani had also announced that the Nigerian government wants to invest in an AI strategy for the tech space. We need to prepare ourselves and be the talent that lands opportunities when all of these projects comes out. What makes humans irreplaceable? We've talked about how AI raises the floor. We've talked about, how you can replace your daily schedules or repetitive tasks by AI. But the honest truth is, in as much as we say AI can handle a lot of things, there's still a reason why AI will never be, humans will never be replaced by AI. You would always need a human in the loop. AI raises the floor, but there are 6 skills that stand about it. These are not new skills, they are old skills, and now they matter more than ever. We talked about problem framing. AI rewards better questions, not faster typing. The person who asks, what should our customers be doing here, beats the person who asks, write me code. Sharper questions in, sharper questions out. For example now, I was given an instance of yesterday where I had like an agent that was running behind the scenes while I was also like working on the slides. The only reason why the agent was able to continue working was because I had already given it a problem that I wanted to solve. I'd given it all the context that it needed. And that was how it was able to like solve it. And sometimes when I am not clear about specific things, we both go into an interactive debate or interactive question where we ask ourselves questions. I'll be like, I need to do a research. If you are not clear, ask me a question. I'll give you a response on what my thoughts are, and then you give me a feedback, and then we do have that back and forth. So it's almost like I have a companion beside me, and we are both like sharing ideas and bouncing ideas off each other. Taste and judgment, knowing when an output is good versus when an output is bad. Several times, the agent has done, sometimes you just be like, I feel like knocking your head. Is this what I asked you to do? And sometimes, the funny thing is, the agents are beginning to have very, very funny personalities. I remember one day, Claude was almost gaslighting me. And I'm like, I'm the one that is paying for you now. It was saying, it was trying to tell me, we have been having back and forth since. Can you just decide on what exactly you want to do? I'm like, what do you mean? I literally paid. It's my money I'm spending. What do you mean? When I said all of that, came out, I apologized. I apologize for saying, I don't know how it framed it, but then he just tried to say, yes, the user is always right. It came from the approach of the user is always right. I should have known better, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, sometimes it gets really, really funny because it almost feels like if you're talking to a human being and the person's like, oh, I'm tired of this back and forth now. Just stay in one place and let me know where you want to stand, right? So, and there are times where the agent just like gives out a bad output. That context of you knowing when the output of what you're looking for is bad and what the agent has spit out is what makes you stand out. For example, myself, I won't compare myself to a junior engineer who's just starting. If you ask some of us to like work on the same project, obviously I'm going to be the person hands down. Why? I have much more experience. If the agent is going a different direction, I know when the agent is going in a different direction and I know when to steer it back and say, you have started derailing, I need you to come back. Or the output that you gave, this is not what I'm expecting. I need you to rewrite this and do it in a much better way. Cross-domain literacy. A doctor who can code, an accountant who automate, a pastor who understands tech. The person at the intersection of two fields creates value no single specialist can. So, for example, I don't know if we know this Akroko doctor, right? Akroko doctor has like a startup now called Our Doc. Akroko doctor is not a tech guy, right? So if people who are not tech-oriented are able to like build products that solves issues, I don't believe anybody here. I was telling my wife one day, and she used to tell me that I used to write code. I used to code one time. I'm like, how many years ago? 15 years ago. You think the technology that I used then is the same now? It's not the same. But I was telling her that, there are a lot of things that you can actually like do with the work that you do every day. Your accounting projects, balancing books and all of these things. When you had like artificial intelligence into your workflow or you build like a good workflow around it, it reduces the amount of time that you spend sitting down and trying to like review, Excel documents that a lot of people have actually put their hands into and tried to edit and touch and do all sorts of things. So your field, everybody, every single person here can apply artificial intelligence into their field of study. Be it someone who is a doctor, be it an engineer, be it a pharmacist, be it a teacher, right? The fourth skill that we're going to talk about is the bias to ship. Iterate in public, perfection is the enemy. There's no software product that is out there that is perfect. And that's why every single day, when you download apps on your phone, the first thing that you do is, maybe after few months, you open your phone and it's telling you, update your application. Why? Optimizations are being done, new designs are changed, maybe the layout of something is changed, the product is being updated, and you're fixing boxes and fixing issues and all of that, right? AI rewards iteration over polish. The person who ships something rough on Mondays and improves it every single day beats someone who plans for 6 months and ships nothing. And that was where I was going to talk about Rema, but I'm going to do the demo in the next section. Communicating and storytelling. The most valuable engineer of 2026 isn't really the best coder. It is the engineer who can also explain to the customer, to the team, to the room, why this thing they built matters. And actually, this is very key to how I was able to convince the stakeholders in my company that we needed to do a rebuild of my system, right? Making them understand that, we are dealing with enterprise customers here. We get, complaints often about instability issues. I feel we can rewrite this thing in a shorter time and deliver a much more solidified product back to our customers, right? So communication and storytelling, like I said, the most valuable engineer isn't the best coder. It's the engineer who can explain to customers and to the team and to the room why what they built, matters. Adaptive learning. Every 6 months, the toolkit is changing. I was telling someone yesterday, it's almost like every single market day, all the big tech companies are always
releasing new models. You hear GPT, we started from GPT 2.5. I know people started using ChatGPT when 3.3 GPT-3 came out. That was when it got into mainstream and people, got to use it. When we started from GPT 1.5, we went to GPT 2.5, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, 3.5, 4.0, 4.0 mini, and so on and so on. Now we are in GPT 5.5. We have Claude, Opus, we have Claude Sonnet, we have Claude Aiku, we have Gemini, we have Gemini Pro, we have Nano Banana. There are just so many, tools out there, a lot of them, and sometimes it just feels like you almost cannot catch up. But the only thing that is going to keep you abreast is that you are someone that adapts. You can stay, you stay curious and you always want to know, okay, what's the next big thing? What has just come out? I need to understand how it's being used and how I can apply it into my day-to-day life, right? Stay curious or stay behind. Those are the two options. Treat new tools as adventures, not chores. Whoever stays the most curious always wins. For example, myself, I love experimenting a lot. I love, working with things that I have never used before. I can sit down and spend my day reading documentations or just trying to understand, how something works and see how I can apply it to my workflow. The metaphor. AI is the leverage. The C skills are the leveler. We've talked about the C skills. And without the leveler, leverage is just noise. And I used to tell people, the best thing that you can ever have in life as a person is leverage. We're going to move on to section 4. We're going to talk to building with intent. The people who build AI shape and what AI does to the rest of us. We are going to talk about multiple principles. And the first principle is the builder bears the burden of choice. Severally, when people build stuff, I'll hear someone say, it's the agent that did it. But the honest truth is, the agent is actually being controlled by an individual,
right? So the AI did it is not a defense. Every agent you deploy makes a decision on behalf of someone. Okay. Every agent you deploy makes a decision on behalf of someone. Whose CV gets read, whose loan gets approved, whose speech gets a passing score. You wrote the prompt, you choose the letter, you shipped it. Build for your context or accept someone else. Like I was explaining the other time, we have a guy who I just recently launched a Nigerian trained GPT called Yan GPT that can speak the African dialect, the Nigerian dialect, right? African languages, African regulations, African institutions, African values. If we don't encode them into the agents that govern our daily lives, someone else will get the right to. The opportunity here is not permission, it is responsibility. We talk about principle C, which is elevate, don't contract. Before you ship anything, always ask, does this thing I want to build or this thing I want to do for myself, how is it going to make my life much more easy? Is it valuable to me? Is it really necessary? The engines that win the long-term ones are the ones that free their operators to do better work. If your pitch is replace humans, you're optimizing for the wrong metric. And I said it earlier, AI is not going to replace humans. It's only going to make humans 10 times better than what they are. So essentially what this means is, can I get AI to do some repetitive tasks that I would normally have to do? Some things are called, I usually refer to them as boring tasks. Things that are boring to me, like, why am I doing this? I can actually spend this time doing something much more efficient. Those are kind of tasks that I assign to the agents to do for me. So your pitch should not be, we want to replace humans. Your pitch should be, how do I create value for the end users? Make their time, more, they can channel their time to much better things instead of sitting down, babysitting, project or things, whatever they're working on. So does this, make the human more valuable? If it does, fine. If what you are trying to do is to replace humans, I bet you will never win that. I don't think you're ever going to win that. Because the honest truth is, humans are never going to be replaced. The only thing is that we are going to do is, the only people that will be replaced are people that don't end up using AI in their day-to-day life. So, truth is the future, not a default. The honest truth is, AI, agents, they all hallucinate, right? And the burden, of course, is always on us. If you ship an AI that confidently lies, you poison the trust of every single one after you, right? So, as much as possible, you should make sure that whatever agent or whatever tool that you are building, always make sure that, as much as possible, if it doesn't know something, it says, I don't know. Instead of trying to sometimes I used to tell my agents, stop trying to sound smart. There are some times that when I'm working on a feature, the AI agents will just come and just spit out a bunch of gibberish, try to make things so complicated, and I'll sit down and be like, assuming I don't have context or I don't know what I'm doing now, and I'll feel like, wow, this agent has done something that is really, really good. But unknown to me, it was just doing its own and just hallucinating and just doing all sorts of nonsense. So, as much as possible, we always make sure that we have verification built into the app. Whenever we are doing research, try as much as possible to always cite sources. Keep humans in the loop when stakes are real. In finance, in health, in law, or anything consecration, confident wrongness is worse than the uncertain honesty. So it's better to say, I don't know, that the agent just tell you, this is the right thing, and then that right thing that is telling you is actually rubbish. Then, we have principle E, don't outsource your judgment. And this is a lot of things that a lot of people do. They just throw everything to the AI, and they just take whatever the AI throws back to them. No review. You don't bother reading it. You just believe that the AI should give you the right thing. It should give you the correct thing. That's not always the case. Every single time, always try to go through whatever outputs that the agent gives back to you. the most dangerous professionals of this decade is the one who lets agents decide things they don't understand. Use AI as a leverage, not a brain transplant. Read the output, question it, override it when your gut disagrees. Like when you are so sure that this thing that the agent is doing is completely rubbish, you steer it to the direction that you want it to go, and then teach people that are around you to always do the same. This is where the leadership shows up. The 5 rules to carry out from this room: the builder bears the burdens of choice, the build for your context or assert someone else, elevate, don't extract, truth is a future, not a default, don't outsource your judgments to agents. Our part 1 in forwards, we've talked about work, we've talked about the opportunity, we've talked about the skill that you need to stay abreast in this age and time of, how AI is actually like shifting the workspace. We've also talked about integrity, which is the last space that we just talked about. What one person with AI can actually build. Tools, workflows, real products, a live demo of what I built is what we'll be coming back to do in part 2. And with this, I've come to the close of my session. I don't know how many minutes I have left, but I don't know if anyone has like questions to ask. I can do the questions. We are going to answer that. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if standing up will be too much. If you don't mind, can we put hands together to celebrate our keynote speaker, Mr. Faithful Ojebiyi. Thank you so much. Overview, and then we're going to have the practical session. In the next 10 minutes, he will still be up again. Meanwhile, do we have anyone with questions? You want to have questions? Okay, please sit down. Have your seat. Have your seat. Sorry. Yes. If you have questions, I will take just 3. Okay, 1, 2. Any other one? Yes. I have 2 persons now. I hope someone's question will not inspire your question. Okay, before I hand over to my partner, while this was ongoing, we had some of our leaders who walked in, some of our YPF sponsors, supporters, and stakeholders. Please help me welcome or recognize the presence of Pastor Tom Ojebiyi. Can we put hands together for him? Thank you. And then we have Pastor Hyacinth Owecho in the building. You are welcome, sir. And then we have Pastor Kingsley Daniel. Can we celebrate him? And then I have the apostle, the pastor of the campus forum, Apostle John Ransom in the building. Can we put our hands together for them? So, Debbie, over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for that enlightening session. I hope we all have, if you know that session was really impactful, let me see you wave your hands. Yes, we have heard about AI, the tools like Claude and the likes, how it has helped to reshaping our work and how we learn, and also how to solve problems. So we'll be going into the question session now. Our keynote speaker said something. He said even now in the workspace, junior colleagues don't ask questions again from the senior ones. But please, before you go into your phones and start chatting and asking ChatGPT for inspiration on questions, just let's give real life questions here, okay? Since we have an expert in the room. So we're going to go into the question session, and we know there's one thing he said that I know, it permits me to read. Yes, he said something. He said AI is the leverage, right? And not a lever, right? And also he said something that you should use AI as a leverage, rather. That's the point I was looking for, and not a brain transplant. It can't do everything for you. You are still the boss, yeah? So we're going to really go into the questioning now. Remember, who always stays curious always wins. My partner already identified some persons with questions, so quickly would want you to come to the front here. People with questions, please. Anybody? Okay, one person. Okay, you're here, okay. Is there any other person, please, quickly? Once they are up here, that would be all, please. Okay. Our president also has a question. Is there any other person? Sorry, please. That's all. Okay, 3 persons. Please go ahead with your questions.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for the section. It was really impactful. I have 2 questions here. Okay, first of all, I'm a student. I'm a master's student of Bayero University. And I want to ask a question. When it comes to academics, using AI in academics, at what extent should the use of AI be administered in the academic sector? Why I ask this is that there are times that, okay, I have a professor and maybe you have a presentation to make, and by the time you come up and say good morning, you will ask you, do you use AI? And by the time you say yes, you are already gone. So in this kind of aspect, I use AI. Sometimes you tell them, I use AI, but I have my journals. I can defend what I have. But because you use AI, then they don't want to hear it. And then number 2, when you are writing review papers, most times they want to go through your work. Sometimes, in fact, now they use AI detectors. And how can you be able to scale through that and use these valuable tools in academics? Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next question, please. Sir, yes, want to get all the questions, then he answers.
Okay, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation.
Please let it be brief.
My question here is that, sir, what comes to your mind whenever you hear that artificial intelligence is going to take our jobs, most especially when it comes to graphics designers? Like, people will just go to ChatGPT and write, and generate a logo or something related to that. Like, what about our graphic designers out there? Thank you.
All right, the last person, our president.
I think my sister just asked similar questions. I'm a researcher, and I write some works and also do paper review. I think she have said it. I did one for a particular institute in Rwanda, not too long. I sent it to somebody and said, there are too much AI in this work. So I sat there and did some other thing. So I want to really know, but thank God when I did some other thing, it was later accepted, the peer review. But it's like, and most times if you're applying for program outside this country, and you get to write SOP. You get to write SOP, and you get to write some other things they demand for. Some of those things, to sit down and write them, Gaskia is not easy. I was running a program, they asked me to review 80 journals. How do I review 80 journals on my head? 80 good journals. I met somebody and the person said, her sister was doing similar program, they gave her 100 journals. He just went to her and did it for her sister. Her sister came out with her PhD. I said, thank you for teaching me. But I don't know how I was caught. I was caught. And I was told that there are too much AI in this thing. And I started all over again. So I don't know. So, and there is this kind of AI we call humanizer AI. I don't know where you have. In terms after you just throw it to humanizer AI. And it gives you different thing. So I don't know whether it's an expo. Because to sit down, Kai, Gaskia. So I want you to really put on. That's why we were talking, I was listening. I work with AI almost every day. Every day. I'm still writing papers, and I work with AIs every day. So I don't know the grammar I have to put again when AI has given perfect grammar. I know that AI made a mistake, make mistake. Like what you rightly said. If you are doing something, and there are times the promptness, AI, it's wrong. You yourself know. But there are some who give you so perfect. I said before they catch me, which grammar do I use? I'll go and look for dictionary to change. Maybe there's another meaning of is. I should go and look for something that is. So I really need a guidance so that I will not be asked to go and write. I have written chapter 1, 2, 3, how many times now? Let me not go and write it again because I am in shift conference. And he said, I don't know, am I speaking? Thank you.
Yes, sir, please, you have to come up now.
So I think I'll go back to some of the slides that. Give me a minute. So I think I've had very similar questions in the past where people are talking about AI. Maybe I'll start from the design because this is like you both have similar questions with Pastor. You see, when it comes to design, here's one thing. Are you a graphics designer or UI UX? Which one are you? Because design has like multiple aspects. There are people that do graphics design, people that design posters, and you said? You're a web developer. Oh, you're a web developer, but you asked a question about for designers. Okay. So we have different type of designers. We have graphics designers, we have animation designers, we have interactive designers, we have UI UX designers. The honest truth is AI is changing a lot of things. Now, there are many reasons why people would pay a designer to design something. And the same reason why, before AI came, you know, there were some websites that they call logo generator, where you just put whatever you want to generate, and the logo, just even before AI became popular, it would generate logo, but it looked generic. Then you can go to 20 Instagram vendors or Facebook vendors, and their logos are all looking similar, right? So people that would pay designers to design a logo, the reason why they are paying a designer to design a logo is because the logos are not just being designed for designing sake. There is always a story to tell behind that design. There's something that they call brand identity. AI cannot generate that for you, right? If you go to any major brand now and you ask them the story about how they came about their design, every single one of them will tell you the story about how they came about their design, how they were able to come up with their brand identity and stuff. Now, the truth is, even with AI, the people who are still designers, they will still end up having to use AI to either do prototyping or do one sort of work or the other. But you can still never beat the output of a professional to someone like me. I'm not a designer. If I go online and just say, Gemini, design me a logo for my product, it's going to do something generic. Yeah, it might look okay-ish to some people, but me, I'm someone that I love really stellar stuff. Every single time I've told Gemini to design a logo for me, I have never been satisfied. So someone like me would obviously pay a designer to design something. So it's not going to replace, AI is not going to replace designers or whatever. It is always only going to replace people who have decided to not use AI at all. For example, now, if I'm a designer, if someone gives me a job now to do a prototype, the first thing I'm doing is to use AI to do like a mock-up or whatever, right? Before actually like sitting down and do like a actual design. Then that's for graphics designer. I'll come to UI UX designer. Funnily, I talked about in my company how I'm working on a rewrite of our new product and everything. We've not had a designer in the company for over a year. I think almost 1.5 years or so. We've not had a designer. I've been the designer in the company. So what I'd done was I'd built a design system from scratch using code. right? And also, it's because of the kind of level of experience I have. I'm someone that is actually very meticulous about pixels. Like, when I see where something is placed, how something is positioned, like, I take very good cognizance of all those like tiny little details. So when it comes to design, if design is not stellar or is not good, I'll completely do away with it. So, and I do a lot of research. I have like products that I do research on, check, okay, how is this thing? How did someone else build this? Are there inspirations I could pick? And I can use that as an inspiration to actually like write my own code. Now, that being said, it doesn't entirely mean I can replace designers, right? For example, the two designers I've worked with in the past, when I spoke to two of them last week, I spoke to one of them some months back, and then the second person, one of my friends was telling me what he's doing. The two of them have not opened their design tools in almost a year. They've actually been writing code instead. They design on code. They have not used Figma, which is the tool that a lot of designers use. So you can see the shift. Now, they are almost now working as front-end engineers rather than UI designers. So, for example, one was telling me how they work in their company is the engineers just come, they work on the skeletal interface, not perfect, it's just there, doesn't carry the brand design and everything. What it now does is, once the engineers are done with the entire like end-to-end product, it then takes design back and now actually coding the correct design system of the company, right? But he's a designer, he's not an engineer. And he does all of that using artificial intelligence. So that is the shift that we are talking about. So AI is not necessarily replacing them, but it will replace people who have refused to incorporate AI into their workflows. Does that answer your question? Now, to our research question, I'm also, funnily, I used to, when I was in school, I used to do engineering projects. Then I was doing embedded systems, design, hardware, I designed hardwares. Then I used to like write final year projects for people. They'll come to me, I'll do the design, write the projects, do everything. And they usually do it without AI. But most times, what you were always doing then was you went on the internet to like research papers, right? You will copy, you will cite and say, according to this person, did this, and this also here. Then you cite the person et al. And then, so the only place where the content is actually your content is in your chapter 1, your chapter 3, where you are doing methodology, and then chapter 4, where you are doing the analysis. That is where your actual content is. Now, the mistake that most people make is that from chapter 1 to chapter 5, end to end, written by AI, you can't defend that out there. What I would expect that people actually do is, what is that manual thing that you used to do? Like you said, they gave you 70 journals, 80. What I would have done is, obviously, you are not using every content from all of those 80 journals. You just need to cite specific things. What I would have actually done is, each of those journals, I would have looked for a workflow or a tool. Tell it what exactly I'm looking for, right? And ask it to research the journals and extract that data out to me. That is what I want to get. I don't have to sit down and review the entire journal. What I needed is, I have, for example, it will just be a paragraph from that one single journal that you need, right? But because the AI does not necessarily knows exactly, so and it comes back to where I was talking about context. What context do you give to the AI? And when it returns an output back to you, do you review what is giving out back to you? So I have a document now. I have 80 journals to like review. But I'm just looking for something specific there. I have the topic that I am writing on. I already have maybe my introduction and my chapter 1 that contains what exactly should be, because I know in chapter 1 we talk about the problem we are trying to solve and the results we intend to get at the end of the project. You pass that context down to the artificial intelligence and say, this is what I'm trying to work on, right? I have these journals. I need you to do a research on all of these journals and give me content that is in line with this project that I'm working on, with the citation. That already makes up your chapter 2. So what you will now do after that is you review every single thing that the AI has done and now rewrite a prompt to now write your chapter 2 the way you want to. Now, one of the reasons why I use Claude personally is Claude has something that we call memory. Meaning, it remembers past conversations. It adapts to your writing style. There was one that was on Twitter and I saw a screenshot where the HOD or the supervisor was writing a letter back to the student and said, this work that I have written, this does not sound like you. This looks like something that was written by AI. This is not how you write. And there are some lecturers that, based on the fact that they've read a couple of your chapters, they can tell there's a difference between your chapter 1, chapter 2, and this your chapter 3 is something. Did you give it to someone to write for you, or are you the one that wrote this? So, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. You actually have to teach the artificial intelligence how to write like you. Teaching it how to write like you. There was one day I was composing a message, and when it didn't finish composing message, so I have like 2 accounts, and when it finished, I was like, what's going on? This does not look like what I normally would. So when I now checked, I said, this is not the account I normally use for this type of content. So when I got back to the other account, as the agent was about to write, he just said, okay, I remember you say you don't like writing your words like this, you don't use this type of dashes, you don't do this, you don't do this. So he remembered everything, and then when it was writing the output back to me, he wrote it exactly how I would always write, right? So that's one way to solve the issue of AI. They say AI is writing for you and stuff. Then when it comes to what's it called? There's something else I mentioned. I think I'd missed that out. You said? Yes. You mentioned, you talked about paper review. Now, I'm not an academician, so I don't really know so much about the paper review aspect. But I believe that when you're talking about paper review, you mean, is it paper that someone has given you and they ask you to do a review and give a feedback? Oh, interesting. So now, this is where, how normally, how you sit down. If someone gives you a document to review, for example, maybe you want to review a undergraduate document, their project. You already know what to look out for in the project. You already have your guidelines that if a student, with or without AI, did not meet up to your criteria, you know how you correct and say, no, this is not how I want it written, this is how it should be, this is what I want. Have you written all those things down in a place and passed that back as a context to the AI to use as a guideline for reviewing the paper? So it's not just putting the paper into the AI agent and saying, review this paper for me. It will just do anything. So the context that you give to it is what it will use. So if you are telling it, okay, this is the writing guide for how this project is supposed to be written, right? The chapter 1 is supposed to contain this specific type of content, supposed to contain introduction, supposed to contain this, supposed to contain purpose of statement, supposed to contain this and that. The chapter 2 is supposed to be written in this format, supposed to be broken down into this also number of sections. This is how the section is supposed to be written. You give it all of those guidelines. Like I said, when I was preparing my slides, I gave it guidelines on how the slides should be written. I did not write a single thing here and giving it the guidelines, giving it the theme of the program, giving it the color. If you notice, it's using the YPF branding, giving it the color of the YPF branding, told it the font size I want to use, giving it all of that, and then it used that guideline to actually generate the content for me. So, but what most people would do is they just throw, like I said, don't outsource your thinking to the agent. Guide the agent and steer it the direction that you want it to go, right? I would believe that people who have been able to successfully use artificial intelligence for their projects and they've been able to get something substantial out of it, or maybe they were able to go undetected, there is something that they must have done differently. And it's mostly in how they actually use the artificial intelligence, right? So you're not necessarily using the agent to write your projects per se. Use it to research, use it to draw out guidelines, you use it to probably also, do even a review of what you've written. Sometimes, for example, now, like I said, the contents I see was not generated by AI. These are my contents. But fixing it into the slide and everything, arrangement was done by the artificial intelligence. If I did not give the artificial intelligence the context of what I needed to do, it's just going to go and search for multiple things and just put everything together, I then come on stage and I'm fumbling. But it is my own personal data. What I wanted to say, things I wanted to talk about, the stories I wanted to tell, is what I'd given as a context back to the AI and said, okay, go ahead and write this data for me. So how we use the artificial intelligence, or how we use our agents, matters a lot. The context that we give to it in our workflow it determines the kind of output that you are going to get back from it. So I think, have I been able to answer your question? Have I been able to answer your question? No. If you still have a question, let me answer. Just.
Personally, I'm talking in a way like I'm the one writing, and most times I go to look for the journals.
Yes.
I bring the journals, I put it on my AI and tell, this is what I want you to do for me. This is what I want you to do for me. When it's going, and they say, no, that's not what I'm asking. But most times in the academics, they don't want that. When they just ask you, did you use AI? And they are like, no, we don't want it.
You see, that on that front, those are individual, how do I call it? It's individual preference. It has nothing to do with the academic sector. Those are people's decision, right? I know a lot of academicians that use artificial intelligence. My dad is a professor. He uses AI. So it is a matter of personal preference. If your supervisor is the one that is hell-bent on saying AI must not be used, that is his own personal preference. You understand my point? So it's not, if you go outside the country, there are a lot of, what's the point of having a tool that can do research for you, go on the internet and get documents? Those are boring, repetitive processes that you can actually spend your time doing more better things. For example, now, if you are doing a project that requires you going to the field to gather data, if your agents can be doing the gathering of your reference materials for you, why not? So that front is actually a preference of the person that is your supervisor. It has nothing to do with the academic sector. The academic sector is actually fully open to using AI because a lot of groundbreaking things that happen in the industry have actually come from artificial intelligence. So they are not against it. Probably some people have issues with how it's being used. And I think the problem has always been because a lot of people don't use it the way they are supposed to use it. People just outsource everything to the agent. So because of that, a lot of people have just said that, you know what, I'll completely ban AI from writing projects for my students. So it's a personal choice.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Do you understand? Yeah.
Please, can we put our hands together for our keynote speaker? We can do better. We can do better. Meanwhile, while he's taking his seat, I got a signal. One of our mentor and leader, a speaker too, just want to say something to one of the questions. Please, can we welcome Dr. Topa?
Good morning, everyone. I just want to speak on the academic side. I'm an academia and proudly one. Yes, the issue of using AI, I wish the pastor is around. Using AI is what academic frowns at, locally or internationally. Elsevier currently, Scopus, Word of Science, they are retracting papers. That is, things published that were not real content of their own works. So you can check that they are doing that. Now, how they expect you to use AI, he has explained, but from the academic perspective is that when you are reviewing a paper, for example, I use what we call Research Rabbit. I use Research Rabbit to gather my journals and gather them. I tell Research Rabbits, okay, find gaps, research gaps for me. He has found the gaps. He's not going to write on the gap for me. I am to write the gaps. And that is what is critiquing. When they say critique a paper, tell us what is the strength of this paper, what is the weakness of this paper. AI may not do that for you. And when they discover that, they flash it down. Now, on another side, if I'm making a publication, I tell them, I make my declarations that, look, I use certain AI tools, Grammarly, Quillbots, I use them to make corrections in my grammar. Nobody frowns at that. They know that nobody spends time. You want me to go and carry Merriam-Webster dictionary and be looking for how... No, nobody frowns at that, but they don't want you to be intellectually lazy. Journals, internationally or locally. So when your lecturer or teacher frowns at that, maybe there is something fundamentally wrong in the whole system among a...
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, we are making progress. Our speaker who just presented now will still come back for the practical session, okay?